Hi, I'm Rich from Trapping Inc. TV. This review is on the RR20T or 20-ton wood processor, conveyor belt, and their infeed log lifter and infeed table. I put it to a pretty good test. I brought in a load of an entire logging truck worth of birch. It's a nice load of birch, huh? They're big. Oh man, they're big. 400. Yeah. I don't know. It's the hardest hardwood we've got around here. This stuff is green and frozen. I'll say right up front, I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed with how it worked. So, first thing we're going to look at, I guess, is the motor. It's got a 14 horse Kohler motor. And let me tell you, it's an impressive unit. I mean, it's a Kohler, right? So, I mean, that's a brand name that you never go wrong with. When you have that 14 horse, though, hooked hydraulic to the blade here for cutting on the chain, amazing how fast it cuts. As far as fuel economy went, these are 5-gallon jerry tins, and I'm sitting at about there, so 2.5 of them to do 35 tons of wood. 70,000 pounds of logs is what I had, so 35 tons of wood. I didn't think that was bad. The pile, as you can see back here, it should, I mean, all I can do right now is convert from weight to cordage and that, but it should be about 16 cords. So that was pretty impressive. It took me, I would say, probably about 20 hours to do that 16 cords. When you're set up and everything is flowing, they say that it's good for a cord and a half an hour. Probably, but not as big as what I was running. Like, I ran stuff that was actually bigger than what they recommend in it. The unit is recommended. It will cut a block 24 inches long and anything in between, of course, and up to 16 inches in diameter. Well, I cut even at 18 inches. You can get 18 inches through here, and I cut it right up to 18 inches. The problem that I had, that I think that I was slower, is that this was birch and it was very heavy, and I had some learning curve. To begin with, I set my lift table and that too far away. I set it as far away as I could, and then I cut my logs. I was working with 20 and 24 foot logs, way too long, because you've got so much weight there. I had logs that were probably over 1,000 pounds each, and it ends up that even a frozen chunk of ice on the side can make it so that it can't handle, or it won't your feed wheel won't feed properly or whatever. It'll catch on something. So when you're dealing with that kind of weight, I guess it would depend on the wood. Eventually I started to pay attention, and then I started to look at the log, and if the log was straight, I might get 12 or I might get 16 feet out of it. And if it was crooked, or if it had bumps or whatever on it, then I might be down to an 8-foot length of log. And so I set this a lot closer, and it fed it very reliably. It lifted, like, I mean, you'll see here in my video, I lifted logs to like 20-foot logs that had to be 1,000 pounds, and the log lifter lifted it. So I did not maintain that 1.5 cords an hour. If I'd have been set up better, if it hadn't been my first attempt at it, if it hadn't been winter for one thing, that made it quite a bit more difficult. If I'd have been running, those 12-inch pine, that's something that was light and easy to handle, that was straight. But what I had, with that birch, it had frozen ice on the outside, lumps and that kind of stuff that made it difficult to handle. So it was a real test of the unit. Even at that, even if it did take me 20 hours to do 16 cords, it was, you just barely, kept yourself warm, kind of thing. It wasn't a hard workout by any means. This is our chain oil here. You take it, fill it through the top. You control how fast it trickles in right here. You've got a hopper here, which you can see is is full. The whole idea behind this is that you can actually hook it into a collection system to collect your sawdust. I'm just spreading it everywhere, right? everything, all the hydraulic pumping and that. There's a filter on it for if you want to change your oil. The bottom of the entire bottom of the unit here is all the hydraulic tank. All right, the work platform here. When you flip this up, everything, the ram, the chain, everything comes to a dead stop. The only thing that continues to turn is your conveyor. So your conveyor always turns, and when you go to do a cold start in the morning, you flip this up, and the only thing that's going to continue to be powered is your conveyor. Now, here is the splitting area. Your blade here, it's a 20-inch blade. Like I say, they rate it for 16 inches. I could actually get 18. You cut it, it drops down, your ram comes out here, pushes it into your splitting wedge. Now your splitting wedge is adjustable for height. You can adjust it up and down as much as you want. It comes standard with a 4-way wedge, and I didn't even bother with the 4-way wedge. I slapped the 6-way in and I left it there. I just adjusted it up, down, whatever I needed. This 20-ton machine did awesome when it come to even running the 6-way on this big stuff. You know, I mean, you see how big I'm splitting here. It's amazing. There was occasionally where it would grunt and go to power down on the original stroke. So I'd just take and cycle it back up and cycle it back in. There was never a log that took more than one extra cycle though. I mean, it was impressive. This just drops right back into here. So as your wood gets split, the next split wood pushes your wood up onto your conveyor, and up it goes. The conveyor is 6 inches wide. It's completely adjustable with the crank, so you can lay it out as low as you want. I just started with it low, and I would take and raise it as I needed to as my piles built up. There's a huge amount of wood here. So we got our battery on board here for our electric start. This is entire beam down here is our tank for our hydraulic fluid, and here's the sight glass for it. Tells you, you know, whether you've got enough fluid or not. Fill right there. This is your ram control, and by pushing it down, that makes the ram go forward. It's automatic. You can adjust it here. You can adjust how far it goes forward before it resets and comes back. Whenever the blade is turning, the ram stops, or if this is opened up, the ram stops. This is also openable, which is very handy, because I ended up having such big ones that they were just barely fitting through here. I'd have to wiggle and roll them and that. Like I said, the biggest thing that made my issue, two things were ice on stuff. Like by the time my logging truck gets here, everything's coated in ice, and that's difficult because the teeth aren't biting then into bark, they're biting into the ice, and then it spins, right? And the weight, the incredible amount of weight that I was moving back and forth here. I certainly pushed it to the limits. It handled it. It handled it. Once I learned how to handle what I was working with, it did an awesome job. So here is our hydraulic controls. The first one here is for our infeed, and this particular unit here has the infeed on the log lifter on the deck. He's now got new models that have infeed actually on the processor itself. So this is forward or backwards for the infeed, and this is the log lifter for up and down. I was amazed. You know, I mean, the power of hydraulics is incredible, but it's a very sturdy table, because I lifted logs that were literally 18 inches in diameter and 20 feet long. Like, there wasn't nothing I didn't try. I pushed the absolute limit on it. In order to be fast at something, you have to set up a system, right? So I wanted to have roughly 16-inch blocks, so I would take and cut, you know, 8 foot, 12 foot, 16 foot, whatever. Those all work out on 16-inch. You know, you lose the thickness of the kerf, and away you go. Once I got the system down, like I said, it was more me learning how to use the product and how to be efficient, right? The whole unit, this unit is towable. I think they say you can go up to 80 kilometers an hour on it. I don't know. I mean, it's handy to be able to tow it around on site here. I'm just going to open this up here. And here is the blade and the chain. Now, 35 tons of wood. I never once sharpened it. I tightened it once. That was it. Just the one time. Really simple here. As far as tightening goes, you loosen 2 nuts and adjust with a set screw. It was amazing. And that 14 horse motor driving that chain, it's unbelievable how fast it cuts. Like, I have a pretty big damn chainsaw. My big unit that I use for doing this, it's a pretty damn big chainsaw, and I was pretty impressed with how it cut. It's nothing compared to this. Like this really puts out. It is the easiest I've ever put up that much wood, no question. Talk about the 20 hours that I took and that I did not maintain that hour and a half. But that's everything that I'm doing. My scaling of my logs, as far as, measuring them and bucking them, and that's everything. That's 20 hours total. Actual cutting, a lot less of that, probably 3/4 of that, maybe less. So it's pretty easy, if you're set up, you have everything set up and ready to rock. It'd be pretty easy to maintain that quarter or better an hour. Having the conveyor is a far more important feature than it first seems in the beginning. But to be able to keep your split wood away from you and away from fouling up your work area so that you got to keep moving to avoid it is extremely important. I know one fellow who's got a nice setup going on, and he just goes straight into the back of a big dump trailer and then takes and moves the dump trailer after it's full. But that wood is not having to be handled several times. It's not chasing you around the yard as you try to get away from it, right? If you want to check these machines out, you can go to range-road.ca. They have dealerships both in Canada and in the United States. Canadian dollars, I think this is just over $9,000 for the 2 pieces. 1-year warranty on the machines, 3-year warranty on the cooler motor. It's good quality stuff. Good quality stuff at extremely reasonable price. I give it the big 2 thumbs up.